Doug, great to see you.
Great to see you, Joe. Thanks for inviting us here.
Well, I appreciate you joining us. And Aaron, great to see you as well.
Joe, great to be on. Thank you for having us.
Aaron, I wanted to start with you. When did Herjavec Group start thinking about a potential identity and access management related acquisition? And how long has this particular company been sort of on your radar as a potential target?
Yeah, great question. So we've long recognized the strategic importance of IAM. And in fact, we actually recently released our latest cybersecurity conversation report where we identify IAM as a foundation of security. When we looked at Securience, we saw an opportunity to double down on that belief and acquire world-class talent so we could continue to position HG as a leading cybersecurity leader. We've actually been engaged with Doug for probably over a year now and love what they do, love everything about them, the culture fit, the world-class talent, as we just mentioned. Really felt like it would be such a great addition to our IAM practice.
Fantastic. So, Doug, jumping over to you, I think you co-launched the company in 2014. Rewind for me. What was the original vision for the company? And then fast forward to today. Did you execute on that vision, or did you do pivots and course corrections along the way? Because I know the security market is ever changing. So I'm very curious about the journey you've been on.
Right, yeah. So it is an ever evolving journey. We first started the company, I co-founded it with Mike Sims. We're both in security. We were both in very similar positions in our career. We were working for large organizations at the time, running the relevant professional services there. And, a lot of conversations down the pub and things like that around how we deliver services. You always turn back to work conversations. And really, we found that we are quite often, people used to say things like, we need to clone you. We need more of you. We need, and we wanted to do that. We wanted to provide more of our, services delivery skills, more replicate our ways of thinking, and really kind of scale ourselves. And that's, it's challenging to do that in the security industry because there is a shortage of talent out there. So we formed Securience. We had great plans to build that into, a world-class leading consultancy in IAM. And, we were still working towards that, but actually we found that as we worked with customers, we saw the market changing, digital transformations coming along. There were quite a lot of times when customers were looking for more than just advisory and consultancy services. They were looking for people to actually run and operate, actually do managed services, take care of their operations. We found that, we were trusted advisors to our clients, and it was great. We take them along the journey. We look at their business requirements, implement complex projects, and then, we go live. And actually then we found the customers were, fantastic. We've got this great solution, but then struggling to run it because they're challenged with retaining skill sets, keeping the expertise in-house, supporting the infrastructure and stuff actually they didn't actually need to do, didn't want to do. So managed services started in Securience, and that, 2 years ago was quite a milestone for us. Looking at the business model, obviously, as well, looking at more recurring revenue and growing that revenue stream. So really our kind of business still was focused on being a leading expert in identity management, but our kind of business services expanded to managed services. And then there's one other aspect as well we found was that we always challenge the way we do things, and we look for more effective, more efficient ways of delivery, and quite often found that out-of-the-box products that we used didn't always deliver what the customer wanted. And really customization of products and things like that lead to issues with supportability, maintainability, scalability, upgrades, and all that. So we decided to build our own proprietary tooling to both help us deliver in a more effective and efficient way, and also to bridge that gap in product functionalities. So they had licensed products that were maintained and supported that covered that gap in functionality.
Gotcha. So on this journey that you've been on, Doug, from your vantage point, at what point did you realize that HG might be a potential suitor for the company? And what was the dance like? Were the potential synergies clear from the get-go, from the initial discussions?
Yes. So we've been working with HG for probably 2, maybe 3 years. So we started working with them on some projects in the UK, and you know, it was a great relationship at the time. We were providing services, working on a joint project, and then one thing led to another. I mean, I have to confess, when we first met HG, I knew very little about their business, just that they were cybersecurity, right? But as things grew and we learned more about each other, I think that's where the relationship started to build. And when we decided to start managed services, they were actually a company that we looked to for advice. You know, I must admit, I read a lot of their blogs, read a lot of their white papers on managed services, how to do that operational aspect. And I think just that combination of identity expertise from us, managed services expertise from Herjavec Group, combined, just you know, it just made sense. And we've talked to Robert and Aaron quite a lot in terms of their vision on identity, and it just really made sense to form this merger.
Fantastic. So, you know, Aaron, jumping back to you in terms of doing this deal, we're all speaking here in mid to late July 2020. In many parts of the world, the coronavirus pandemic is still raging. Hopefully things continue to get better in all the regions, but you know, it's still going on here and we're all navigating it. From your vantage point, did the pandemic have any influence on this deal? Did it slow things? Did it make Herjavec rethink whether or not M&A is it a proper time to do a deal, et cetera? What's the background there? Any influence there, or maybe not?
Yeah, so, you know, from a general business perspective, we're certainly cautious about the macro factors resulting from the pandemic and the impact that these factors are having on our clients. But we also recognize that these factors are fueling the importance for cybersecurity, fueling the importance for great IAM programs. And so we felt like there was no hesitation in terms of looking at M&A activity, and we really targeted the IAM space to accelerate out of this pandemic and continue to grow in a very great and hot market.
Got it. And then, you know, a follow-up question there for you, Aaron, is now that the deal is official, it's been announced, the companies have come together. What are some of the first priorities? Do you have a playbook for M&A, or do you have some key priorities up on the whiteboard in terms of what you want to do with the acquired assets and the talent and all this new expertise you have?
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about this acquisition with Securience is that we've already been working with Doug and Mike for quite some time. We're very familiar with how they go to market, how they approach their customers, how they deliver their solutions. So for us, it's really more just knitting it together on the back end. We already felt like these guys were a part of our team. And in fact, our client felt like they're a part of our team as well. So to us, it's really just finding the nuances in terms of helping to support them become more of the HG family, incorporate more of the HG services that we have to offer, more of the back-end support that they may not necessarily have received on their side. But really, you know, it's been seamless so far. Like Doug and I were joking the other day, asking how things were going. And, you know, the integration is really just consistent communication. And because of COVID, I almost feel like we get to talk more on Teams and more on video chats than we would normally. Like before, we would probably think about going out to see them in the UK, spending time, then flying back, and there might be a lull in that type of integration. But, you know, Doug is on the phone constantly to us all the time and vice versa. So, you know, for us, it's been really seamless. Hopefully he's felt the same.
Yeah. Doug, from your vantage point, you know, I would be curious to hear, I've been through M&A myself. A media company we had a few years ago got acquired, and the thing I learned very quickly was M&A is not a finish line. It's a point in time, and then there's a lot of work to do after the deal is done. What have been your priorities post-deal, both for yourself and for the company, and how are things going so far?
Yeah, so it's the second time I've gone through M&A. One of my previous companies, we went through that, but it was a much larger organization. So yeah, very good point. You know, one of our first priorities is make sure that we retain customer focus, right? We were very conscious about our customer base, making sure that we reached out and really kind of didn't let any services get interrupted by this activity. We're obviously looking at getting our team integrated and settled down, which, as Aaron said, it's going very smoothly at the moment. And really actually just kind of sitting down now and looking at our longer term strategy, what we need to focus on, where our strengths are, and making sure that they're combined between the two organizations and we kind of leverage that. And then looking at where we want to build our proposition, our go-to-market strategy. We've got some really exciting things coming up. So for example, we're definitely going to be looking at identity as a service. So building on the whole managed service aspect, but actually really providing a fully hosted, fully managed identity service. So customers don't have to think about operational aspects. They don't have to think about infrastructure. They just consume the service. And especially I think in post-COVID days when I think there's going to be a trend for organizations to start looking at more subscription services, retaining cash, maybe reducing headcounts, reducing infrastructure costs. I think really identity as service is really going to shine and be a strong factor going forwards. And then the other thing that we're going to be looking at is building on our proprietary tools. So again, it's about delivering more effectively, more efficiently. We have a great product called Securience Data Manager, now Herjavec Data Manager, that we use as an accelerator to onboard applications in an IAM project. And then we've got a new technology coming out that allows really the modernization of any IAM solution out there. So we're bringing a mobile interface to the ways of working in IAM. And again, it goes back to kind of our philosophy of challenging everything and finding more effective ways of working. And really, I think the IAM is quite a mature market now. There's plenty of products and players out there, but the ways of doing things really, I think, haven't changed much in the last 10 years. And really, we're trying to look at the more scalable, more the younger workforce coming into play, how people work, and making that more effective.
Fantastic. Well, Doug, thank you very much for telling us a little bit about the deal and the path forward from your vantage point. I appreciate your time, Doug.
Thank you, Joe. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
And also, Aaron, thank you very much for pulling back the curtain a little bit on Herjavec and your thought process in terms of this acquisition. We appreciate it, and so do our listeners and readers.
Joe, this has been great. Thanks again.